It's one of those warehouses. The fire's on the top floor. We've already had a couple of calls about this one. There are 2 crews on their way, all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
About 4 minutes away.
Okay, I've got somebody out at the moment.
Well, they're close now. Let them know.
Okay, I'll speak to them. Okay, hi, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hi.
You're gonna need to call a locksmith.
What? But how am I going to get hold of a locksmith now? Can you send someone out?
Which bedroom?
The front one.
Okay. Have you actually seen them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them now.
Okay.
Hello, fire service.
Fire in the house!
Can you tell me your address?
Fire in the house!
Can you confirm your address for me, please?
It's Stanley Road, 27 Stanley
27
Road.
Stanley Road, NE, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hurry up, please? My boy's upstairs.
Your son's upstairs? How old is he?
He's 3.
Okay. Now, whereabouts in the house are you? Are you at the front or the back?
Downstairs, I'm at the bottom of the stairs and I'm near my front door.
Okay. It's all right. Where exactly is the fire?
What?
Where exactly is the fire?
The fire's upstairs.
All right, okay, just try and calm down. Now listen, I need you to stay where you are. The crew are on their way and they're trying to rescue people, okay? No, I need you to stay downstairs or you'll put yourself in danger too. I need you to stay with me and that way you can help me, let them know exactly where your son is, all right? Okay? Now listen to me, I need you to stay downstairs. It's all right, stay downstairs. The firefighters will be with you in just a couple of minutes. Hello, are you still there? Hello? Are you still there? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? I can hear you.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm upstairs.
Now, are you okay? Is your son okay? Okay, is any part of your clothing on fire? Is any part of your clothing on fire?
No.
Okay, whereabouts exactly are you in the house?
I'm in the front bedroom upstairs.
Okay, and that's at the front of the house? Describe where it is for me, at the front?
Yeah.
Is it the front of the house?
Yes, I'm at the front. Will you tell us to come to the front of the house, please? Will you tell us to hurry
Yes,
up?
don't worry, it's all right. Now listen, is the door to the room closed?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, that's great. Now, is there smoke coming under the door?
Filled with smoke, the whole
All right,
house
now
is
listen,
filled with
I need you
smoke.
to open all the windows you can.
There's only a little one in here.
That's all right. If it's open, that's great. Now, listen, I need you to get his duvet or a pillow, anything you've got, and put it under the door. You need to try and stop the smoke getting under the door.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
It's okay. It's all right, love. You're doing so well. It's all right. What's your name? Gemma. Hi, Gemma. I'm Laura. Now, listen, I need you to do that as quickly as you can, okay?
Okay.
It's all right, love. You're doing so well.
He's struggling to breathe.
All right, it's okay. Like, is there a sink in the room or any water? Can you wet a cloth at all to put over his face?
Will you help me, please?
It's all right, love. You're doing so well. They'll be there any minute now, and I'm going to stay with you until the crew are there, okay? Now, I need you and your little boy to get as close to the window as you can, okay? Can you do that? That's all right. It's all right, Gemma. You're doing so well. It's all right. It's okay. You're not. Now, listen, if you get upset, your boy will get upset too. I know. Just try and calm down. You're doing so well. They'll be with you any minute. Look, what's your son's name? Jamie, okay, Jamie. It's all right. They're on their way. Listen, what does your son like doing?
He likes football.
He likes football. It's all right. I know this is so tough. It's so tough. You're doing so well, darling. I know it's so tough. Now listen, you're going to be all right. I just need you to be brave. It's all right. I need you to stay calm for a few more minutes. That's all. Now, are you at the window? Are you at the window? Can you hear them? Can you hear them? You can? That's great. Now listen, they know exactly where you are. You're going to be rescued any minute. Now, can you get your head out of the window? It's all right. Try not panic, Gemma. Can you get your head out of the window? Okay, well, just stay as close to the window as you can. They're turning up your street. Can you see them? Yep, you can see them. Are you looking out the window? You can see them. You're all right, love. You're going to be rescued any second. Try not to panic. Now, listen, you'll need to stay back from the window because they're going to put it through, okay?
Okay, Jamie's down here. Jamie,
that's right. You get your son and stay back from the window. They know exactly where you are. Now, they're there. Have they got your son? Have they got Jamie? Have they got Jamie? Yeah. Jamie's safe. You're all right, Gemma. They've got Jamie. He's safe.
I've got him.
That's great. That's great. Now, just you do what they tell you, and that you'll be out there at any second.
Thank you.
You're all right.
Okay,
You're all
thank
right,
you.
love. You're all right. Hello, fire service. Can you tell me your address, please?
Good afternoon. Actually, I wanted to finish the session with the words from Jules, but I think that we have to start. From last year's conference, Jules finished his presentation with a word that please keep in mind that there is an emotion behind every emergency call. As you could see, there is always emotion behind every emergency call. My name is Kaili Tamm. I'm from the Ministry of the Interior of Estonia. And we will start our session about call takers and dispatchers, mental and physical health. In one session, in one of the previous sessions, there was said that the Irish national ambulance ethos is that patient comes first. But these words are very true, but actually call takers and dispatchers should feel themselves both physically and emotionally good to be always there for the patient or for the caller. We have to admit that their work is very tough. But in next hour, we will hear how they are supporting call takers and dispatchers in Australia, Austria, and in the UK. And please let me introduce you Marty Smyth from Australia. He is working in the Emergency Services Telecommunications Authority, and he is Chief Executive Officer. Our second presenter is Jules Lockett. She is from London Ambulance, and she is Practice Learning Manager. And our session will be ended by the presentation from Austria. And there are two speakers, Susanne Ottenddorfer and Siegfried Weinert. I'm learning to pronounce different names, it's so interesting. And they are both from Emergency Communication and Coordination Center of Lower Austria. And Susanne is Medical Director and Siegfried Special Project Manager. But first, we will start with Marty. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon. And if you don't mind, I'll refer to my notes because sometimes Australians, and I'm a Kiwi from New Zealand, we talk too fast. So I'd like to start this afternoon talking to you about helping the helpers, what we do at the Emergency Services Telecommunications Authority in the state of Victoria, Melbourne, Australia. So I'll start by introducing you to our people, and I'll commence that with a very short video on our very talented workforce.
Where is your emergency?
I'm a police 000 call taker, so we take calls for the entirety of the state for police emergency and non-emergency calls.
This job is different every single day, probably every 4 minutes something different happens.
Every call, I guess, has an aspect of the unknown, but through your training, you're kind of prepared for what's out there.
It can be intense at times. It's a lot more interesting than other jobs. it was quite exciting.
This is a demanding job. We receive 7,000 calls a day. That adds up to 2.5 million people every year that need our help. We're dispatching fire, police, ambulance or SES every 15 seconds.
To excel at this job, I think you really need to be willing to be part of a team.
I think it helps to be able to be a quick thinker and to be confident in your decision.
You need to be willing to learn.
To be a reasonably quick typist, to be able to read a Melways map, to be a good listener.
I'm doing something good in this job. I'm really helping people who need help.
This is definitely my career, I've been here for 6.5 years now. I love the work that we do. And I can see myself being here for a lot longer.
ESTA is a great place to come if you are looking for a career change, which is exactly what I was looking for.
I used to be a telemarketer.
I used to be a milkman.
I used to own a small business.
I used to work for an insurance company.
I used to work in animal protection.
I used to work in a bottle shop.
I used to be a fast food manager.
Did I need a degree to do this job? No.
All training's been in-house and it's been amazing.
Training at ESTA is really good. We have training before you sit with your mentor, so you get a lot of extensive training in order to be able to do your job.
We do a lot of nights, weekends, public holidays.
I could not go back to working 9 to 5.
You try not to let it have a personal effect, but obviously there are certain calls you're going to take that will touch home or reach home for you a little bit more.
People calling up with chest pains, or they've had falls, elderly people that have had falls or a stroke.
There is a lot of support here at ESTA to help if you have a challenging day. We've got specialist services like counselling available. You also work with the same crew every shift, so you've got that group of people that you can talk to, you can chat to, you can laugh with.
Your team leaders, they're there essentially for your welfare. They'll come and check on you if they know it's been a tough call. You've always got someone to bounce off.
If someone's applying to be a call taker, I would definitely encourage them to do it. I think it's a great job, great benefits.
It's definitely a forever job. If you love what you're doing, there's room to grow.
The better that we do our job, the better outcome that is for someone that's had an accident or medical emergency at home.
I definitely feel that what I do makes a difference to somebody out there every day.
Because of something that I did, someone's lived or someone's had a better day, and those days are the really good days for me.
Make a difference with a career at ESTA.
So as you can see, ESTA is a unique model in the Australia-New Zealand call taking and dispatch process, in that we do centralised call taking and dispatch for police, fire and ambulance and the state emergency service, unlike other states across Australia and New Zealand, where those services are done within the actual organisations themselves. We take a large volume, 2.57 million calls per annum for the state of Victoria, with about 6 million people, about 2 million dispatches per annum, and that's about 7,000 calls a day. In 2016, there were 7 similar organisations to ESTA around the world. In 2016, there's now in excess of 26 countries and jurisdictions using a combined call taking and dispatch model like we use in ESTA. As I said though, we are the only one in Australia and New Zealand that uses this particular model. We also provide the managed services on behalf of the state government for the public-private partnership contracts for public information and radio telecommunications networks. So that's what we call our managed services. As you heard from the first video, the nature of some calls can be quite distressing and potentially cause psychological damage. Workload demands are high. We suffer from staff shortages. We have a lack of control over our work because you can't regulate when a 000 emergency call comes in. We have some friction between the emergency services organisations because 25 years ago, when ESTA was developed, they took the call taking and dispatch and put it under the central government agency, which is now ESTA. And some of the emergency services organisations, even today, still believe that that call taking and dispatch function should remain with them. So that causes some tension in the environment. Our people work shift work, they work long hours. Fatigue can become an issue because they do 12-hour shifts. They make time-critical decisions, and career development opportunities and supervision are difficult. We operate across 3 state emergency communication centres in the state of Victoria. The Australian industrial relations landscape makes flexibility working conditions difficult, and this impacts on our recruitment and selection of talent because we've previously had a very heavily unionised workforce. Currently, we're sitting at about half of our workforce are unionised and the other half are not. Today, we have multi-generations working in the workforce, and that brings its own dynamics. So we go from baby boomers, the old people like myself, all the way through to the millennials. We've got 5 different generations. They have very different expectations, which makes it quite difficult within the workforce. Understanding our baseline, we needed to understand our baseline and our starting point and impact for changes. So in 2017, we did a staff engagement survey to understand what the issues were, and we put in particular some questions on safe and well, so that we could measure against this 3 years later. So next year we will re-engage with our staff and see what's moved in that last particular 3 years. We also participated in 2016 and early 2017 in a national Beyond Blue mental health survey, which was the first time it's been done in Australia across all emergency service organisations, including our own organisation. It was called Answering the Call. It gave us further data on mental health conditions, the stigma, the help-seeking behaviours and barriers, and the support services, and the alcohol use of people within our organisation and the emergency services. The Beyond Blue survey report showed us that we are doing well in some areas, but highlighted significant gaps that we need to address in other areas. These included addressing areas where our staff are reporting suicidal ideation and thoughts, high or very high levels of mental distress compared with other emergency services. So our call takers and dispatchers are experiencing a much higher incidence of mental health and distress than when compared to the responders in the field. Last year, we did a cultural survey of the organisation, and we discovered that there's high cultural entropy score for staff that have been there for a long time. That's our fire service call takers and dispatchers. Their service tends to be around 15 to 20 years, and we had a much lower entropy scores for the people that have been in the organisation for, say, 2 or 3 years. So we've got a very tough organisational culture that we need to try and engage with and break into. And that's probably because of a result of 25 years ago when Esther was born. Those 3 organisational cultures of police, fire and ambulance were just really picked up and put into the one organisation. When we look at mental health and wellbeing, we've looked at best practice across industry with the Beyond Blue survey and also a Black Dog Institute, which is an Australian organisation. And we've looked at our fellow emergency service organisations in the safety area to understand how they operate and what they do. We've established leadership support. We've got a people strategy, which is a 3-year strategy that we're probably 18 months, 2 years into now, that has a focus on safe and well, mental health working groups, which are cross-functional groups linked to our Occupational Health and Safety Committee. And we've completed a psychological risk assessment to make sure that we clearly understand what the risk factors are facing our staff. Our Esther People Strategy is premised on 4 columns there, as you can see. The People Strategy has laid the path for us, and everything we do links back to this. We've prioritised our own wellbeing, integration of safety into everything we do. We recognise our unique risks and develop tailored solutions. We educate our people. We focus on early intervention. We've taken a risk-based approach, recognising the unique challenges and the risk that we have in our own workplace and designing tailored solutions while at the same time respecting our organisational culture. I think visible leadership is extremely important and at every level of the organisation. I do a weekly CEO message by email and social media across the entire organisation to all my staff, and often I talk about mental health in an attempt to break down the stigmas. I also attend our peer support training. I had a 40-year background in ambulance services prior to coming to this role, So I can go and talk to them about mental health and understanding what experiences that I've been through, which I believe by sharing personal stories in the peer training, you break down the stigma, show that leadership supports mental health and normalises talking about the workplace challenges. Our operations managers have all come up through the ranks, so they've all got personal experience and credibility. We conduct a refresh of our values. We're seeking a culture based on kindness, trust, integrity, honesty, and calling out of bad behaviours. We have a duty of care to our people. We need to provide for them a safe environment and treat our people with dignity and respect, particularly when they're raising mental health issues. There is a link between a safe workplace, physical health, and feelings of being valued. We need to design work shifts from a wellbeing perspective that are based on research into areas like fatigue and breaks. Our people work a 12-hour shift. They work 2-hour blocks. Of that 2-hour blocks, they have 30 minutes off the phone. So they're working on the phones for 90 minutes and 30 minutes off. We're addressing what we can with industrial environment, looking at fatigue management and sharing of decision-making with our people. We use a Workplace by Facebook social media platform for more agile and collaborative internal communications with our people. When we look at building resilience across the organisation, we have a number of initiatives underway. We have a healthy environment where we have on-site gyms. We've increased the use of sit-stand desks in the communication centre floors. We've looked at lighting design and we've checked on thermal comfort. We've looked at noise assessment controls. We've built into our ops control room floors and we've changed to dual headsets for noise cancelling. We also run mental health programs, so we have an employee assistance program which is on site, on phone or online counselling, which is available to our people 24/7. We have mental health first aid training about online emotional flexibility course for our people. Our new call takers and dispatchers undergo mental health training related to the unique aspects of their role. And in 2019, I should say, we're managing mental health conversations, training with all leaders by putting all our managers through compulsory mental health training and including our support office people. We run health campaigns. In 2018, we launched a peer support program with input from our unions, from our people, and from the emergency services organisations. That's where our people can access their own colleagues in a peer support program. The peer supporters are trained in basic counselling, mental health first aid, and they're supported by a psychologist. We have 37 people trained across the organisation at the moment, a workforce of 1,000 people. Probably about 800 of them are operational. So we've had about 50 contacts since that process launched last year. So it's in its early days, but it certainly is a good process for engaging with our people on mental health. We look at health promotion programs. We have convenience campaigns on topics including ergonomics, sedentary work and standing, mental health, gratitude, and healthy eating. We also support other activities like heart checks, heart health checks, flu vaccinations annually. We have an Are You OK Day celebrations where it's okay to go and ask people, are you okay? We've launched Initial Care, which is an injury management program where we provide access to 24/7 nurse on call and if needed 4 free GP, general practitioner, or physio or psychology sessions following up on a work-related injuries. We have a very strong focus on mental health, providing better information and making it easier to understand the process, educating our people on how to support their people. New appointments brings the expertise we need to build trust and support with our people and managers in returning to work. Our lost time injury frequency rate has halved in the last 18 months as a result of the programs that we've been running. We have a profile has changed so that our lost time injuries are now related mainly to psychological injury, as we are much quicker and more proactive in addressing physical injuries within the organisation. We also run for our managers and leaders a program that we call Lead Esther, which is a program that includes self-awareness for managers and links to our vision and purpose of the organisation, building trust, emotional resilience, addressing unacceptable behaviours early, calling them out, coaching and mentoring for our leaders. We have a zero tolerance on bullying and policy, a zero tolerance of bullying with a policy in the organisation, and we've developed contact officers and provided them with training and leadership capability so that any staff can go and access one of the contact officers and talk about bullying and harassment in the organisation and understand what our process is to eradicate it, because it is absolutely unacceptable to tolerate bullying and harassment in the organisation. We do a lot of work on cultural change. It's still ongoing, but we still have a long way to go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Since we are sort of running out of time, we have time for one question. Is there any?
Good.
Okay, I hope that Marty will answer you later as well during coffee breaks and so on. But now, Jules, it's your turn.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Delighted to be here. Thank you for the wonderful introduction as well. For a third year talking about call handlers and especially this year talking about workplace wellness. I think most importantly, any 112 or 999 control room, no two are ever going to be the same. They're never going to take the same call one after the other. Very rarely you're going to take the same call with the same information, the same details, twice in one day, in one shift. I think from that, what we need to be able to look at is how those traumatic events actually impact on our staff. And they do impact on our staff probably much more than we realise. For anybody who would have been sitting there watching that first video that came through, I think you'd probably be hard to be moved or actually not be able to relate to some elements of that. And if you work in the field or if you work operationally frontline and you've never worked in a control room, probably just gives you an insight into what our staff actually go through taking a 999 or a 112 call that puts them actually in the situation of the emergency without actually ever being there. And that can be really difficult for them to cope with sometimes. We make sure that we give people exposure to conflict, to traumatic situations, to people's personal circumstances that we are not necessarily ever normally going to be exposed to. But when we get exposed to those, it's not normally the big elements that impact on call handlers. It's not the big disaster that gets the headlines in the news. It's normally something that's very subtle. It's normally something that call handlers and dispatchers can relate to. It's something that will be personal, something that might have happened to them in their life, something that might have happened to one of their relatives, their friends, or a situation that they're actually being experienced currently. And from that point of view, we expect our staff to be resilient. We expect them to turn up shift after shift, go home, not really think about things, come back to work, carry on, take call after call. Marty's talking about 7,000 calls in Australia in a day. In London, we average 5,500. And in that 5,500, we don't have any more than 35 call handlers managing those calls. Most of them taking around about 105 calls in any one shift. And if you ask them to explain those calls to you, they would all just say, oh, I'm just doing my job. How has that call impacted on you? How has that made you feel? Are you okay? I'm okay, I'm just doing my job. This is no different to what happens operationally when people go out. They just do their job. But it's the underlying element of what happens to those people when they are on the calls, when sometimes all they get the opportunity to do is to sit and rethink about everything that's happened, and go home and think about it, and not necessarily have anyone else to talk to. If they're working in a crew, if they're working in a team, you know, they have people at home that they can talk to, but do they really relate to the actual job that they do? Do we relate to the job that they do? What's the impact on our staff? We probably don't realise the impact that it has on anybody working in a control room. I've been fortunate to work in a control room environment for the last 18 years. And when I first started out, I saw myself in there for a short period of time as a stopgap. And I soon realised that it was the best part of the organisation I could ever work in. I had the opportunity when I first started to make a difference to people's lives for a very short period of time, but I could make the difference. And then what I soon realised is as I moved throughout the organisation, always having the control services and the control room at my heart, I realised that those staff are the people that make the difference, and we have to allow them to have the support and the flexibility and the resilience. And the only way we can allow them to do that is if we are responsible enough to be able to deliver that to them. Because that naturally impacts on how we look after our staff, and if they stay with us. There's only one reason why I stay with the London Ambulance Service, is because it's how it treats me. If it didn't treat me well and it didn't look after me, I wouldn't stay with us. But the fact is I do, and that's what we need to do to make sure that we look at our staff and look at what we can do to retain them by supporting them and appreciating the work that they do. That's no different with supporting the workplace. If we do not allow our managers to have the confidence to be able to offer support to staff, then we may as well not even start to have the conversation. And Marty's talked about the "Are you okay?" That's exactly how we can start a conversation. It's so easy to ask somebody if they're okay, but how many times do we do it? Probably a lot. How many times do we stop and listen to the response? Probably not as much. And the listening is the most important thing. The listening thing will allow us to be able to talk to people, hear their problems, and change the environment that they're working within. What we've done in the London Ambulance Service is we've introduced quiet zones because staff need somewhere to go. Sometimes they don't want to go into a restroom area where someone's cooking their dinner or cooking for the whole shift that's on duty, the telly's blaring or the music's playing or people are having a conversation. They just want somewhere to escape from it all. So we created those environments, and we were talking last evening about what those environments are, both Marty and I. And those environments just don't need to be big, they don't need to have all the technology. In fact, ours have bean bags, and that's all they have. And the staff made the rules around what happens in that safe space. They don't talk to each other, they have no electronic devices, they have no lights on, and there's no eating. We didn't tell them to do that. They done that because that's the environment that they want. And we have to be able to harness that and listen to what our staff want. We introduced mindfulness sessions. We looked at purchasing a variety of different things. We know a lot of people and our staff like to work off of a device. We were very mindful that using a device is another screen, so you come out of the control room, you're on your break, you use another screen or another device. So we did offer people the opportunity to download an app, which was Headspace, and we purchased a number of those, and we give those away to staff that want them. They have an opportunity to send an email into a private address, and they get that email back, and they have the app free for a year, and that's up to them if they wish to continue that. But it makes a difference to staff. We've given away over 150 apps to staff in the control room, and I've had over 90 people out of those 150 write to me and say the difference that it's made to them every single day. We've also looked at introducing a variety of different sessions. We have yoga across 26 of our 72 ambulance stations now. And those are set times to coincide with people finishing their shift or people coming in slightly early for shifts. And that allows so many more people to have well-being at work. And from that, we then moved on to family days that we started to arrange so people can bring their families along to see the amazing job that our colleagues do. But how can we help further? There's going to be no surprise that actually the people sitting in this room here are going to be responsible for being able to do more. You will be responsible for being able to change things. And it's not about cost. It's nothing to do with cost. It's just about manufacturing what you currently have and how you can move and change that around. For us, at London Ambulance Service, I introduced some sessions in our core training for new entrants that tells people about the reality of the role. I'm not going to bring somebody into an organisation and ask them to do 18 years like I've done if I don't tell them how tough it is going to be, how emotionally draining it's going to be, how many babies they may deliver, how many lives they might save. I'm going to tell them how difficult, how emotionally draining, how frustrating, how angry, how annoyed they are going to get when they come to work sometimes, because that is reality. And if we don't tell our staff and encourage them to understand how difficult the job will be, they will come to us for a short time and they will walk away again because we haven't been honest with them. So we've started to talk to our staff for the last 18 months, and this is now being rolled out in other parts of our organisation with other education areas. And we've started to tell people how difficult it can be living in London, travelling in London, working in London, because it will not be cheap, because over 70% of their salary on a monthly basis will go purely in their travel, and sometimes with a variation of if they decide to actually purchase food a day or bring food in, that money will go. That leaves them a very small amount of money, and we have a responsibility to tell them that. So when we look at people coming in, we tell people that actually house share, look at other opportunities. Don't buy a flat on your own. Don't rent somewhere on your own, because you will find that it will become difficult to be able to live and survive. And that's not right, that we employ people and we're not honest with them first off. And that has helped. That's helped people open their eyes. On day one of our training, we tell people, if somebody doesn't come back on day two because we've been honest about that to them, there has to be something that's right about that. Because if they've stopped and thought about it and realised that they may not be able to do that job, or had a conversation with us, then that's the right thing for us to have done. And it's important that we respect their decisions, because those decisions are actually offering patient care over the phone, and they need to be there to do that. And one of the most important things that I think we have to do as leaders in the organisation is we have to tell people and share them about the journey that we've been on. I'm always very descriptive to people about the journey that I've been on in the organisation, about mental health issue that I had, that I recovered from, but I only recovered from because of the organisation allowing me to come back to work in a safe and sensible way. And that journey is important that other people know that, and I share that across our organisation on a regular basis. So we do some very simple things, and this is about cost. This is about cost versus staff. If you know that somebody is going to be off for a period of time because of stress, because of mental health, because of the situation that we unknowingly have put them in as an organisation, these things that are up on the screen don't really cost much, or can be very little cost against the value of a member of staff being paid to sit at home and then sometimes contemplating whether they will or won't come back to an organisation. It can be quite that straightforward as encouraging healthy environment that somebody's working in, talking about their diet, talking about getting out and about, talking about things and situations with their colleagues. These are some of the pictures that we've done from our wellness at work. And And in the top right picture that you see there, that is an EMD, so one of our newest call handlers who was trying to create a smoothie against our Director of Workforce. And so for me, that kind of picture epitomises two parts of the organisation. So one of the most senior leaders in our organisation looking at doing something competitively, and the look on the EMD's face for me is absolutely priceless. And if we can capture that picture and that situation across our organisation, then for me that has to be the right thing that we do for our staff. So yoga has broke out in a variety of different ambulance stations. So you will see that there is no vehicles moving in those garages while yoga is taking place. But those staff are either coming in from home on a rest day or have come off shift or have working in the office and are there taking part in that. So in closing for me, some things can be very, very simple and very straightforward. I don't think there's anything wrong with me taking time out to go into our control rooms to speak to staff. They shouldn't see me as a senior leader that doesn't take the time to come and speak to them. I make sure I go into the control room, and every time I go into the control room, I get goosebumps, because there isn't a single time that I don't hear somebody either saving a life. So each time I walk past somebody and I hear them saying, and I know Jerry's in the audience, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, as they're giving CPR instructions, you cannot help but be inspired by what those staff do. So please, if you get a chance to go into your control rooms, say thank you to staff, ask them how they are, take the time to listen to that response. Because the pressures that we knowingly put on our staff, we can't change those pressures because it's the environment and the job that we work in, and that's the reason why we love what we do. We can't change the environment, but we can change the way that we support our staff. Thank you, and most importantly, my closing thought would be that we cannot control everything that happens, but the one thing that we can do is change the experience of those things, and certainly for us, how it impacts on our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jules. Do we have any questions from the audience? Don't be so shy. Talk. It seems that there are no questions. Everything is clear. And thank you once again. And now our first, not first, but last presentation, Susanne and Siegfried, please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks to EENA for having us. Thanks to you for being in here instead of being out there in the sunshine. I don't see you, but I know you're here. We'll keep it short and sweet. This is Siegfried. I'm Susanne. That's us. We come from Notruf Niederösterreich, which is the emergency call and dispatch center of our federal state, Lower Austria. What do? We dispatch a lot of resources. During the last day and today, you heard a lot of technology facts, you heard a lot about apps. They don't work without the people behind them. So we have about 150 call takers and dispatchers, and these are, as we think, our most valuable assets. Why? You can have every technology you want. If you don't have people working with them, they are worthless. So, over to you.
Okay. The most valuable asset. This is a term you can find on a lot of posters in companies, but mainly this is just words with nothing behind. So, what are the benefits of workforce health promotion? First of all, an employee who is happy with his work, because he will do his work with motivation, we are talking about quality of work, the efficiency, company atmosphere, the company itself. And we want to reduce, of course, fluctuation, because new employees causes a lot of cost. Work accidents, and we are proud, in the last year we had only one accident related to the work. And we want to reduce sick leave. Just to make it clear from the beginning, the long-term sick leave you can't reduce, but you can reduce the so-called Blue Monday. Every euro you are investing in your workplace-related projects, saving you 2.7 euro of costs. We are talking about workplace ability. So we started with a survey, and we had no idea of the results. We don't even know, is it good, should it be bad? So we started with a questionnaire about 44 questions about democracy, the way, the physical activity. We really put a lot of questions inside the survey, and luckily more than 60% of our employees respond to this survey. We have, these are the numbers of our company. We have more than 80% full-time, we have some part-time, and we have also a mix of different shifts possibilities. Short terms, 8 hours, 12 hours, but we don't have anyone who is only night shifts only or predominantly. Now some questions and some results. Generally, was the question, do you feel comfortable at work? And we are taking the summary of the first two lines and saying the first two, the 5 stars and the 4 stars together, they are, if they are in more than 50, more than 60%, we are on a good track. It was the question about eating habits, fresh fruits, vegetables, and meat. And if our employees, call takers, and dispatchers doing it daily or several times a week, or not at all. And you see, we have some guys who are not eating fresh food, no vegetables, and no meat.
So what do they eat? Interesting question, huh? Okay.
Then we thought about fast food. Fast food is one of the big issues in many dispatch centers. So we asked them, what about fast food? You know, the burgers, the burger companies, the KFC and so on. And we are really surprised that only a small part of our EMPs and call takers do that on a regular basis. And also surprising, there are a third one which I think never fast food.
Then we're asking about eating strategies. What do you do? Do you bring food to your shift? Do you order in? If you bring food and your colleagues order some stuff to eat, do you feel compelled to order too, or do you stick to your food? A variety of answers, and most astonishingly, some guys don't eat during their shifts. I could not go 10 or 12 hours without eating, but some of them do. 25% bring their own food, and the majority just does a mix. They either bring stuff, they order in, or they just share what the others have.
We'll show you now some results very quickly. One question was also about the weight. Is there a difference between starting at a company and now, and how was the change? And this is really alerting us. More than 50% of our employees are increasing weight.
But that should be no surprise. For everyone who works in a command center, in a dispatch center, you know that. After some years, you just need more space because you're sitting all the time. We asked them another very delicate question, do you smoke? And we were very, very happy when we found out that about 2/3 of our guys don't smoke at all. That was a surprise.
And it makes them very happy because we have a no-smoke policy in our command center. So people have to leave the command center and walk outside. And in some command center they have to go down 3 floors. So, well, it's a little bit complicated. Okay. So sports.
Yeah, we have some health nuts. We have guys who run marathons, who do triathlons, and on the other end of the scale, we have guys who say, ugh, sports? Never. We asked them about their teeth. I think that's a question which is not regularly included in surveys. We asked them, how are your teeth? How are you feeling about your teeth? Are they in good health? Do you go to a dentist regularly? Then we asked them, do you go to your family doctor regularly for checkups? Some of them felt, I'm way too young. The others thought, what the heck, I'm healthy, I don't need it. What else did we ask them? We asked them about their sleep patterns. If night shifts and irregular shifts affect sleep patterns.
Well, the comments of the employees to the survey, well, they like more daylight working places. Sometimes it's a problem because of the reflecting of the screen. They weren't asking for financial support for fitness studios, air humidifier, flexibility with shifts plan, and more choices.
That was their comments. I mean, financial support for fitness studio membership, well, that works the first 2 or 3 months, and then they stop going. So we're still discussing that. The conclusions from the survey, what can we do? What can we do right now? And which projects can we just start? Company policy is a strict non-smoking policy within the building. We offer water, tea, and coffee free of charge. We offer fruit free of charge. There is the option to get mental company support if you need it. There is compulsory eye examinations by doctors. And there is a special healthy selection at the vending machine. And, of course, a selection of chairs, so everyone finds the right chair to sit comfortably.
We have different chairs, so everybody can choose at the beginning of the shift his perfect chair for the shift.
Going back to the survey, it was 44 questions. If you want to see all the questions and all the answers, contact us. We will happily provide all the information we got.
Well,
and finally,
now we start a kind of certification process, calling Too Good means that's well. It's a health project by the government, and you have to fulfill like in other certifications. You have some management issues, you have some infrastructure issues, and you have to fulfill that. And we titled the name of the project, because this was required, Leo Xung. And Leo is the call sign of our dispatch center, and Xung comes from the word Gesund, what means in English healthy, and Xung is kind of a little bit of fire. So what we are doing, the Leo Xung was beside of all the papers you have to write and documentation. Some people in our company start running. They start doing some sports, and then we had a challenge which is all over Lower Austria. And this is a challenge between companies up to the size of 150 employees. And at the end, you have kind of a festival, and the best ones are honored in public.
This is Lisa. You might have seen her. She's here. She's not here, but she's here at the conference. You might have seen her. She's our marathon woman. And you can do sport activities wherever you are. Basically, there are no excuses. And don't keep it to yourself. Talk about it. Talk to your guys in the center. Talk what you did during your vacations. Maybe you give them some ideas what they could do. And there is no excuse for not doing anything.
And we make it very clear at the beginning of all this stuff that we are not here to entertain our employees. We make it clear that employees have to do something by their own. So we offer something, we are trying them. If it works, we keep it. If it doesn't work, we keep it. And you see, you can do this everywhere. This was in the Emirates just 2 months ago.
And even here, there is the option to do something. This was taken 3 days ago, 2 kilometers south of here and 12 meters below the surface. So you can do sport activities wherever you are, and you find the time. That's it. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers. Do we have finally at least one question from the audience? Okay, actually I have one question, and actually I have one question to everybody. Are you actually somehow measuring the happiness level of your employees or satisfaction or something after implemented different actions to keep them happy?
Well, by law, we have to check the workload on the mental issues, and we do this on a regular basis. And the nice thing is that all these surveys really say the same like the survey before. So we are on a very good level. And the other side is, as we are running also the certification process, because we are using the EENA and we are a certified center of excellence, so we have fulfilled a minimum of percentage of protocol compliance. So when a person on protocol compliance goes down, we are watching this. And if it is still going down, we are talking to this employee. Is there something wrong? Is there something wrong with the protocols? Is there something wrong maybe in your private life? Can we support you? So we have a very good instrument to check also the mental status of our employees. And each employee, he can go directly to our CEO, he can go directly to our psychological team, and or just to his colleagues. So there's no no strict process how to do it.
Okay. Thank you. Jules?
So for us, it's more about analysing our sickness levels, but for us it's much more of a softer approach as our staff actually using the environment and the facilities that we've provided. So we started off with 2 yoga sessions, and within about 3 months that's progressed to the amount that it has, you know, so it's just magnified. So the measure is of the staff's wanting to accept and attend some of the sessions. So rather than put a measure on it, because I think sometimes that might restrict staff using it if they feel that there's a measure. We have seen sickness improve, but we've seen more people attend and take part in some of the wellbeing events that we've held, which is an improvement for us.
Okay, thank you. And how is it in Australia?
Yes, we do. We do a 3-year staff engagement survey, which we look at how they're engaged and what are the issues. So it gives us quantifiable data, so yes.
Okay. So thank you very much to all our speakers, and just please keep in mind that people are our most important resource and we have to deal with them. Technology without people doesn't work. And yeah, thank you. And in this room here will be AED session, and next room emergency triage. So thank you very much and have a good day.